Hello, it has just finished. West Ham 1, Arsenal 2. You probably won't see this tonight though, you'll probably see it tomorrow. Just give it a chance for sort of everything to calm down. And I've given myself some time basically after the game finished just to sort of not to spew everything straight away because of how I was feeling at the time. But this is my thoughts anyway. We'll try, as usual, keep it to a 10 to 12 minutes, so we're not completely boring you guys. Anyway, to start off with the lineup, I think all of us were a bit confused at the start of the game. I think we were a bit bemused, I suppose is probably the right word, because on the face of it, David Moyes had gone with a more defensive style, had left out certain names from the team sheet, certain names from the squad altogether that we'd seen midweek. I think we were all under the illusion, if Mark Noble was injured, that Josh Cullen potentially would step into that role seamlessly, I think. However, he didn't. He chose not to pick him today for the entire squad at all, which I thought was a bit of a wrong move on his part. Secondly, no Sebastian Haller, no Snodgrass in the squad, no Yarmolenko, which I thought was a big one. But he opted, I think, what was in the end a 3-5-2, it seemed. Obviously, Antonio up top, but he seemed to be here, there, and everywhere almost down the flanks at times, but sometimes through the middle. It's almost like a bit of a false nine. Same with Jared Bowen. And I was pleasantly surprised. You have to give the manager credit where credit is due, and I'll get on to why towards the end. Maybe he doesn't deserve that. But he really did frustrate Arsenal for large parts of not only the first half, but for 25 minutes of the second half. I did an Arsenal preview show this week, and everybody that spoke to me on the Arsenal channels said that their biggest worry is when teams sit deep and they put a lot of men behind the ball, we find it difficult to break them. We find, us as Arsenal, difficult to break them down. So I was willing to give the 5 at the back, 3 at the back, the 2 banks of 5, whatever it was when we were defending, the time of day, basically, because according to these Arsenal fans, this is, what frustrates them as a team the most. And it worked, and I thought there were times where Arsenal were very poor in retaining possession and coming out of their own defence. I thought we looked lively. I thought we were there creating some chances. Set pieces, we looked dangerous as well. I won't go over our goal too much because, again, I think it's the same sort of basic dumb errors that happen week in, week out. Losing players in the middle of the box. Looking at you specifically, Diop Ogbonna. But all in all, until about the 65th minute, I was thinking, I cannot believe at half-time we went in at 1-1. The fact that we were still in the game with 45 minutes to go was good, obviously. And in the first 25 minutes, we battered them in the second half. Possession, shots not on target, but shots in general. We looked the team on the up. And I thought to myself, like usual, now David Moyes is the time that, look, we've seen the players that are on at this current moment, yes, they're creating, but they're not finishing. And I know from his point of view, maybe he didn't want to change the team that were that had allowed him to get on top of Arsenal. Maybe he thought the team that he was going to stick with was going to end up getting a result. But it's just the same problems, isn't it? Week in, week out. It's David Moyes when it gets to the crux of the game and you have to make a decision that will benefit the team. You're not scoring goal. Well, you scored a goal, but you're not sort of finishing off these chances that you're trying to create and whatnot. I thought, right, just go to the bench. 2 subs. Either it be Yarmolenko and Haller or Anderson and Haller. You haven't got anything to lose at that point. I thought for us, if anything, we were going to take all 3 points, just the way that it was looking. And I think the fact that Arteta made 2 substitutions, one of which ended up scoring the winner for Arsenal in Eddie Nketiah, that's why you bring on subs, because more times than not they will help change the game. And I thought he was too slow. He didn't react as we know he would do. And then the obsolete substitutions right at the end of the game, where the game's already gone and you've brought Haller and Anderson on for the second week in a row. Don't forget the Newcastle game when you brought Anderson on in the 89th minute when the game was gone. What does that say to them? You're giving them like 5 minutes to make an impact. You gave Yarmolenko 10 minutes to make an impact. It's not long enough. I know when I listened to the review and Gonzo said, look, some of the players, they didn't look like they were flagging and whatnot. I thought Jarrod Bowen ran his socks off. He might not have had the greatest night ever for us, but I thought he ran his socks into the ground. He did look tired when he came off. Just throw something different at Arsenal. They were struggling to handle us, basically, when we were counter-attacking. But I just didn't feel there was any end product coming. But why not go to the bench? Put the man on in Yarmolenko, who's got a wand of a left foot to maybe try and cut in, have a dig, have a vicious shot, as we know he can. Or even the 40 to 50 million pound striker in Sebastian Haller that's on the bench, that we know can score goals, that scored 2 goals in midweek. I think it was the perfect time to bring them on. Give them something to go at. Give them, at least, whilst it's 1-1, give them that time to go out and say, look, go win me the game. You know, you've got to have some bottle about you to say, go and win me the game. And I think that's what Mikel Arteta would have said to it in Nketiah to get him G'd up and whatnot. And he went and did it. For me, it's just, at the minute, like I said, I was fully ready to credit Moyes, because if we came out there with a point, fair enough. But I thought at the time, the game was there for the taking. So why not go for all 3 points while you're there? Don't just limp to a 2-1 loss. You know, if he'd have put Haller, Anderson and a couple of attacking players on, and then eventually we'd have got broken down, I would have said, you know what, fair enough, you brought those guys on with 20 minutes to go, and you went for it. But he didn't. And I know he can come out afterwards and he can say, we should have had a penalty, because I agree, I think it was. I mean, there's no consistency with the penalty that was given up at Old Trafford literally hours ago compared to what we then had. It either is a pen or it isn't. There's just no consistency. I'm not going to get into that because there's a whole VAR debate that it is what it is. You can't change it. But yeah, I would have been happy if he'd have lost the game, but he'd have also gone for the win at that point. I don't believe in holding on for that point. I think, especially with the fixtures we've got coming up, imagine we taking 3 points tonight. We could have come out there and thought, bloody hell, yeah, we put in a good performance. You know, we can go up against potentially these sort of teams that are trying to break into the top 4 and actually do something, but nah. He didn't do it, and unfortunately that's just David Moyes all over, and we will never change that. And unfortunately, whilst he's still a manager, if he's not at all capable of bending his rules or the way that he views substitutions, this is always going to happen in tight games coming down to the wire. Anyway, enough on Moyes. I just wanted to as well give what I thought for Ryan Fredericks back-to-back, 2 games in a row, he's played really well. Even Arthur Masuaku tonight, I think he naturally suits a left wing-back role more than a left-back role. I think it gives him the option that he can come down the wings and try to get the cross. And there was a time, I think it was in just early second half, where he whipped a ball right in front of the Arsenal back 3. And if anybody got a touch on it, which Antonio did, but not a strong enough one, it should have been a goal. And that's the thing. We've got to look, I know, at the positives tonight, that we did create those chances, but I just can't help but think if we'd have brought on potentially players that may have ended up finishing those chances off, could have been something different. But Ryan Fredericks, again, I thought he had a solid game. It's just the consistency we want to see out of him, because like I said, it's been far and few between. You worry because last week against Newcastle we said, wow, he's one of the best players for us on the pitch. And this week we fully expected him to have a bad game, because that's how it usually goes. It's good, bad, or bad, good, bad, good. So if he can continue to put in those sort of like 8 out of 10 performances every week, I think people will be accepting of him starting at right back for the rest of the season. But yeah, I thought the formation did work to an extent. It's the one issue I think we're all going to have with David Moyes going forward, is just you've got to learn to use your substitutions, because they changed the game. And like I said, that was a big thing for me. In terms of, this is the annoying thing, is because I think Tuesday night we'll see the same squad that played against Charlton last week, and they'll probably end up winning. I mean, we should be beating Hull. They're a League One side now this year. And they'll probably play really well, and it will be exactly the sort of game that we saw against Charlton. But what those guys have to do to break into the first team, even though I think some of them should be starting every week, I don't know what that is at this point. But yeah, a frustrating night, and obviously all the buck doesn't lie with David Moyes. It's with the players, because it was two separate nonsensical incidents that basically ended up in us conceding. Things that could be avoided that we just seem to constantly want to shoot ourselves in the foot with. And again, we're just going to keep after saying it. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but substitutions. I don't think this is, obviously we want the board to spend money, but I don't think when it gets down to it, I know we can say, oh, well, we'll blame the board that we lost tonight, but no, because it's David Moyes that made the tactics. They worked, just didn't close the game out like he should have done. He was so close. He was so close to getting a pat on the back from the fans. And do you know what, Dave? We doubted you at the start, but you smashed it with your tactics. You could have smashed it with your substitutions. We could have walked out there happy tonight, but we're not. We're frustrated because it's glaringly obvious the mistakes he's making every week. So I don't think it's a board issue tonight. You can say we need investment in the squad, fair enough, but again, the board aren't related to putting subs on with 15-20 minutes to go. So yeah, it is what it is. But Hull again midweek, we should be winning that game. We should get into the next rounds, potentially play Fleetwood or Everton. It would be nice for us to keep going on this cup run and doing that. And yeah, I'd like to see the likes of Snodgrass and Cullen back in around the first team squad, because I can't believe that they were dropped for the squad for match day. Anyway, I'm going on. I'm repeating myself. Yeah, do join myself and Charlie on Tuesday for the Hull watch along. I think there's a preview going live tomorrow night or tonight when you see this video for that game, or Monday night for the Hull match. And yeah, just stick with us. It's going to be a long old season. These next 6 weeks aren't going to be easy either. But if you did like the video, drop a like on it, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, I will see you all later.